Hey everybody, I'm Shaq.
And I'm Chris.
And thanks for joining us for another episode of
Let Me Tell You,
where we explore ways to navigate life's transitions and challenges and find motivation to make the necessary changes to live a healthy and full life.
And here's our housekeeping statement. On this podcast, you will hear from social workers, counselors, therapists, and sex coaches. But please remember that we are not your social worker, counselor, therapist, and sex coach. These conversations are for informational purpose only. Please refer to your medical and mental health professional for advice and diagnosis of your specific problem.
And with that being said, let's get into it. Hey everybody, I'm Shaq.
And I'm Chris.
And thanks for joining us for another episode of Let Me Tell You. And we're going to be continuing our conversation on boundaries, but our focus today is going to be on emotional boundaries.
Yep.
Okay.
You guys tell which one is like having a lot of silence. Yep.
Emotional boundaries, Chris. What do you think about emotional boundaries? What are emotional boundaries?
Well, emotional boundaries, I would say, are pretty much, they involve separating your feelings from another person's feelings. Sometimes that looks like me taking responsibility for another person's feelings. Like, oh, I don't want them to, get mad at me for doing this, or I don't want them to feel upset, or I don't want them to get hurt. So I'm not going to say this, or I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to share how I'm feeling because I don't want them to, it's doing that kind of stuff. Or letting someone else's feelings dictate how you're going to feel. Mm-hmm. So, actually somebody, what I just said, oh, they're feeling upset. Maybe I should feel upset. Mm-hmm. Or they don't like so-and-so. Maybe I shouldn't. Or maybe they don't want to talk to someone. I should, it's kind of like you're basing how you're feeling and what you're doing and what you're saying and acting off of someone else's feelings and actions and all that. And it kind of like they're guiding you. They're kind of leading you around.
Yeah.
With your emotions.
And I feel like if you listen to our podcast last month, the second Wednesday in the month, and we talked about boundaries, we used a word that I feel like, in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, when he's like, okay, boys and girls, we're going to learn a new word today. And it's emotional enmeshing. Remember you talked about that?
Mm-hmm.
Emotional enmeshing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that trying to clarify like whose emotions am I feeling? Are these my emotions or your emotions? Or have I enmeshed my emotions together with yours? So right. Now I can't tell between what I'm feeling and what you feeling.
Exactly.
And we both pissed off.
Mm-hmm. Or where the initial problem, where it came from. Like,
yeah.
Was it this person's issue or was it originally my issue?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why. Like, why do I hate you? I don't know why I hate you. Was it my friend that said it first? Like, I don't know.
Oh my God. Do you remember like being a kid and then like you don't like a person and all of a sudden you tell them, you be like, I don't know why I didn't like you. Like,
and then you remember why, because they were No.
That's terrible. That's not the point. I feel like I've made a lot of friends based off of, I thought you were like this. So-and-so said she didn't like you.
Yeah.
And then when they got to like get to know me, they were like, oh, you cool. Like, you're weird, but you're cool.
Right.
But they had to get to know me.
Yeah.
Other than that, they was just going based off of what their friends said about who they felt like I was.
Right.
And I think as an adult, I always say, like, I understand people have problems with other people, but I like to judge people based on who they show me they are.
Yeah.
Because the way they treat me may be completely different than the way they treat you. And they may have their reasons for treating you the way that they do.
Right.
But a lot of times I find that they don't treat me the same way.
Nope. Either maybe they learned from you, but the other person who they messed up on, now they're going to do better with the new person.
Yeah.
And that might be your situation. Like, okay, now they know what not to do because they did all that practice on your friends. Now you're going to be the one that they're all perfect with and they all learned up. It's kind of like, you have the boyfriend for 15 years. You got a boy for 15 years. He didn't want to marry you. He wouldn't want to commit. He didn't want to do nothing. And then all of a sudden y'all break up. A year later, he
You
married
married
some
somebody
chick.
else. Yeah,
He
like
done
what
got
is
a good
that?
job. He done became
A Christian.
a Christian.
He's singing in a choir.
He out here saving money. He out there helping people with bills and stuff. He out here fixing cars. Like, he couldn't even change my tire. Like, how you out here changing somebody's oil?
Oh, that's another good topic.
Changing oil.
How do people bring out the best or worst in
you? Yes.
That's a good topic.
And then, like, you felt like you invested all this time into someone, and then now they perfect for somebody else. Sometimes that's how friends work out too.
Yeah, it's just
they made all the mistakes from their friendship from the last person.
Yes,
all the mistakes were with them. Now you're gonna get like the golden years. Of this person as far as friendships are concerned. So that's totally possible.
So 2 terms. So emotional enmeshment is when my emotions are coming together with your emotions and I can't tell them apart. Emotional intelligence is when I'm understanding my own emotion from yours.
Right.
So a lot of people need emotional intelligence in order to decipher, like, hey, have I enmeshed my emotions together with yours? Am I feeling this? And we got to watch that sometimes, because we both talked about, like, having a friend who might come with all this heavy stuff. And one person is like, I got boundaries, can't do that right now. Another person's like, oh, and like all in it with you, crying with you. Like, all of a sudden that person is down. They don't know why. They're crying. They're depressed. I mean, that's like the worst end of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, but being able to tell, like, have the emotional intelligence to be like, actually, those are your feelings. So while I'm here for you and I can listen to you, I'm not going to take those on as my own feelings.
Right. And that's not showing a lack of empathy, because empathy is you understanding how that person must be feeling while they're in their situation.
Yeah.
Empathy is not you sitting with them, doing exactly how they're doing and feeling exactly how they're feeling in that situation. That's not empathy. That's you locking in.
Yeah. Enmeshing. That's you enmeshing
with that person. So, it's totally different. Like, I like still feel bad for you, or not feel bad for you, but I can still understand that how you must be feeling really terrible because the things that you're going through is really sucky. But I'm not also going to start, like you said, crying and feeling depressed and feeling like something's wrong with me and all this other stuff. I'm not going to start feeling those feelings, because I understand that that's your journey.
Right.
You're going on your own journey. You're going on your own trip. You got your first class plane ticket there, and you on that plane, not jet by yourself.
Yes.
I'm waving at you as you're flying past me. I see you, and I'm waving, and I'm supporting you, and I'm sending you kisses and all that. But I'm not on the plane with you.
Yeah, no.
I can't get on the plane with you.
It made me, what you just said made me think of that song, something like, what's the name of that song?
I don't know.
Keep talking. I'll think about
it. Keep talk. What?
No. It's a song like something like, I'll be on the next train
to Georgia.
No. All right, let's move on. I can't think of the song, but it just made me think that it's like, don't wait for me, I'll be on the next train or whatever. Like, so what you said made me think about that. Like, I'm not going with you.
Yeah.
You're going on your own train ride. Right. I got the one after you. So
you got one ticket.
I can be here to support you, but I can't take it on.
You can't get on.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people inadvertently look for that.
Yeah.
Even though they're not saying that. It's just kind of like, why aren't you feeling how I'm feeling?
Right.
What's wrong with this picture? Don't you see I'm upset? Why are you not upset? Well, actually, because what you're going through, I'm not going through that.
Right.
I'm here to support you as you're going through it. But I'm not physically going through this situation with this person at work or with your spouse or with your kids, or so I'm just an outside person coming in to just listen and to be a support to you while you're going through this thing.
And those feelings that you're feeling, you have to feel them to its full totality.
Yeah.
You have to feel it, you have to go through, you have to acknowledge it. And I'm not going to take that away from you by taking your pain away, by absorbing it somehow in my own, because you need to feel that. Because, even all these emotions that you feel, none of them is bad. I think we talked about this in previous episodes. Every emotion has a purpose.
Yeah.
And that purpose usually involves making you aware of something that might be going wrong.
Yeah.
Or right, but it kind of acts as a a warning signal,
Yeah, yeah,
flashing light.
yeah.
Like, okay, you're feeling really angry right now.
Mm-hmm.
Something's wrong. You need,
Yeah,
and it incites change of
yeah,
some
yeah.
capacity.
Or acknowledgement, right? That something good is happening.
That too.
Like we don't ever really live in the moment because we're always on to the next thing, which is probably why we don't have emotional intelligence,
Mm.
because we're so busy
So busy.
moving,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
doing, that we don't pause and sit back and think about, like, well, how did I really feel about that situation?
Yeah.
I think we can avoid a lot of stress, a lot of arguments, a lot of fist fights, a lot of
Oh, fist
crazy
fights.
crazy thoughts. Something
Who
that
you
we
fist
talked about in
fighting?
our last podcast. Well, girls who are like in school, like we talking about. I'm thinking about high school girls who might not like a girl, and because her friend don't like her, and
Mm.
so her friend, so you going, you starting with her, and you might fight the girl for your friend who probably just mad at her because she misunderstood an interaction,
Right.
and she
Right.
don't really dislike the girl, she just mad about this misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Now you fighting the girl, and your friend now is trying to be friendly. Oh, I'm so sorry this happened. You like, oh, wait a minute, I got suspended. Like, wait,
I
my
didn't
mama
ask you
had
to
to come
fight
to
her.
school.
Like, you didn't ask me to fight her. You took off my book bag and pushed me in her direction. But I didn't ask you to fight her.
Yes. I feel like as adults, though, we need to just like take a step back for a minute. Like, why are we overreacting to
Mm.
things? And then we want our friends to jump in and we egg them on.
Right.
But we sitting back like, yeah, she's saying it for me. But what is that? Like, why are we doing that? Why can't we just have a real conversation? Like, when you said these things, I felt, because a lot of times they're
We
not.
know why.
What? Why?
Because to have a conversation like what you're saying
Mm-hmm.
requires one to be very vulnerable.
Oh, that's good.
And
That's
it's
good.
harder to be vulnerable than it is to punch you in your face.
I mean, but which one come with the lesser charge? Yes,
As I sit and think.
which one comes with the lesser charge? I can punch you in the face.
I mean, we
and
all
get
know being
arrested
vulnerable is
for
obviously
assault.
the better choice, but it's not the easiest choice.
It's not. But why are we so? But okay, so I wouldn't even ask. Why are we afraid of being vulnerable?
Because we're afraid of getting hurt, and not the kind of hurt that can heal in 2-3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like a punch in the face, it hurt, but you get over it in 2-3 days.
Yeah, yeah.
If someone emotionally hurt you, you share something that that is vulnerable to you,
Mm-hmm.
and someone takes it and they trample it or they throw it back in your face.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a different kind of hurt than you can hit once.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, but to do that, like you said, takes emotional intelligence, takes you being self-aware and confident in your own self, and not so much concerned about what other people think about you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, where does that stem from? But I think you just hit it on the nose. It's like this idea, like, I care so much about what other people think.
Right.
So because I care what you think, I can't be vulnerable. Because I can't be vulnerable, I'm gonna lash out. And I'm gonna lash out, but not only am I gonna lash out, I'm gonna bring my friends along.
Right.
And they're gonna lash out too.
Right.
It's almost like have you been watching those videos where the people are like, oh, what did you talk about? Oh no, you ain't good. But it's nobody in the back seat. They're like turning around, and then and then the person in the car like, who? First they start like, who you talking to? They like, hold up. So
I saw one
it
like
was
that.
this one particular one where it was her best friend, and she was pranking her best friend. Her best friend turned around, was like, start fighting the imaginary person, and they was like, that's what I'm talking about, ride or die. Like, yo, hold up. Ain't nobody back there. That's emotional enmeshment. That's a lack of emotional intelligence. So I'm going to fight the imaginary person because my friend mad.
That's what that what, when you said that brings, when old folks used to say when we was younger, you're gonna follow your friend right off the cliff.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna follow them off a bridge.
If they jump off the roof,
you're gonna jump off the roof too. You're gonna jump off the bridge. I was like, yeah. Well, see, some people would.
As you see,
you over here fighting imaginary people. Then hey, you one step close to the bridge.
Hello, we got boyfriends turning around like fighting. It's like, I don't know what that is.
You see, at first I'll probably laugh it off, like I was with somebody. Then I'm like, Shakora,
is everything all right? Yes.
Do you actually see someone back there?
I'm like, we need
You
to make
do?
a phone call.
Okay. All right.
When you getting out the
All
car.
right. We just gonna sit here in this, and I want you to describe me what the person looks like.
Oh Lord.
What are they doing?
Oh Lord.
How long have they been back there?
Oh no.
Since you?
Oh no.
Since when? Are they talking to
how
you?
long have you been seeing this
Did they
person?
tell you to do things? Like, girl, we about to give you a diagnosis
Yes.
because you out here messing around, talking to people that ain't even in there.
But ain't that crazy though?
Yeah.
Like you see where I think people's mentality is
Mm-hmm.
when a mother
Right.
could be in the car with her daughter,
Right.
and her daughter fighting an imaginary person,
Mm-hmm.
and a mama turn around and start fighting the imaginary person. What is that? Is it like, oh, I'm scared something could be really wrong with my daughter, so it's like a protection mechanism? Or is it enmeshment like, well, I see you revved up, so let me get revved up. I see you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, do I play into it, or do I just do what you said, like, maybe let's go for a walk. Let's make some phone calls. Like,
let's get you admitted.
Yes.
I don't got nothing for you.
Yes.
I mean, people clearly, we do realize that these people were joking, but still,
Yes,
this
yeah.
it's a concept of what happens in reality.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke, but the reality is that people do take on other people's emotions, like the Beehive. Can't nobody say nothing bad about Beyonce.
Oh,
because then
I'm
people
like,
go and so because like when she did that song and she was like Becky with the good hair,
yeah,
they started sending celebrities threats.
Why?
Because somebody said she was Becky with the good hair. She was just joking, of course, but then the Beehive came after her, and she was like, I was just a joke. Like,
who said that?
What, some star?
Oh, said that she
who was just
person?
joking. She was just joking, and they came for attack. And it was like, man, does Beyonce even feel that way?
I'm sure she doesn't.
But the crazy thing is that they took up an emotion, a whole emotion of rage, anger, and they were ready to lash out and hurt somebody on behalf of Beyonce. They don't even know how she feel.
She don't feel
but
like
they
that.
were feeding off each other's energy, right? Or negativity. I'd rather say negativity than energy. They were feeding off each other's negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And stirred up such a ruckus that they all started sending death threats and threatening the star.
That's kind of dumb. But it happens. I was thinking about this book. It's an old book about these boys that get stuck in this island. They got to use the conch if they want to talk.
Mm.
Oh my good
Something
Lost
Flies.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies. Okay. Yeah.
Lord of the Flies.
Yes. Tell us about
that. That I mean, it was okay. I don't really need specifics, but these boys, they get trapped on this island or whatever, and in their attempts to try to build a society, they kind of make special rules to try to gain some sort of order. But like in the end, they started like choosing who should live and who should die, and then and like the weaker ones were getting killed because they couldn't hold up their own weight, and then the fat ones were getting treated like differently, and they weren't being. It was like
wow.
It was like they turned. It's like. And like one person was considered a leader, but he started leading them in these. It's kind of like cults, and it's kind of like you get like all the like this one person who was very charismatic, very attractive physically, very well spoken,
right?
And they kind of geared up all this passionate people. Everybody loves passion.
Yeah.
With any way you're going, if you're a happy passion, mad passion, people love passion.
They're gonna follow you, yeah.
They're gonna follow you, and it's like if you don't have that level of emotional intelligence where you can separate their passion and their drive and their whatever they got going on between yours, you can get caught up in stuff like that too.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's so, I feel like it's so prevalent today especially when we talk about cancel culture.
Who?
Cancel culture. Because that's all that is emotional enmeshment. Somebody didn't like what you said 25 years ago.
Right.
So they reposted. Right. And now they're like, oh, this person said this. And then somebody else go, oh, no, they didn't. And then this person like, I know, they always try to talk about. And then all you see is this ripple effect. One person didn't like it. They got a group of people who didn't like it. Those
Mm.
people went and brought in another group of people, and now you have a situation where a person loses their job,
Mm.
or um, loses their deal, or can no longer be a public speaker, or is shamed and defamed,
Mm.
and so now they have to like almost like rebuild again.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it is.
And
It
that's
is.
a lack of emotional intelligence. It's like nobody is thinking independently. Everybody is feeling what somebody else is feeling, and we're trying to take up their charge.
Mm.
But we need to be able to think separately, to process separately. Is this my fight? I support you, but again, like I don't have to work with your boss.
Nope.
So, like a situation, I had a friend. I was going to visit her, and I was parking my car. And her neighbor come out, right? Her neighbor like, you know.
Oh, you got it funny.
I was sitting up there and she parked, she waiting behind. I'm like, what she waiting for? Go around. I told her go around. And my friend, she was like, girl, you can't be blocking my neighbor's parking spots like this. And I was like, this public. This is a public street. It's not like a private parking spot.
See, this friend that she's speaking
what
of
happened was
lives on a one-way street. Parking is very
scarce.
Yes. Here. People appreciate having that one spot in front of their home.
Yes.
So the friend that she's talking about, not me necessarily, was just sitting here, saying, you can just park in the parking lot. It's all good. And yeah.
Hey, my friend on the side was like, I'm sorry. But you know what I said? I was like, it's not a big deal. Like, you gotta live here. I don't live here. I travel all the way back to Virginia, and let me tell you, I was being hypocritical because there are cars that sometimes come and park on our gate. So around our house, we have a fence, and it's kind of like a really long fence by our house. And when I see cars, I'm like, who car is that parked in front of my house? Like, hold up, man, I paid for this land. Why are you parking? And then my husband's like, it's public parking. Like, you can't tell people they can't park there. But I'm
if
like,
I recall, I went to a friend's house in Virginia, and I parked farther past their home in front of the neighbor's home, but 2 feet.
Who was that?
But 2 feet, and I was told to back it on up because their neighbors like to park in front of their own house. I don't even know. Some crazy friend I have. I don't remember.
She also lives on a one-way street.
Oh, does she?
I think so.
Ain't that a
but
that same friend didn't even. We got some crazy friends, girl.
We sure do. Lord, help our friends.
All right, let's get back to it.
Yeah. So that emotional intelligence is important. So we're gonna go back to something that Chris and I say all the time: is you have to have some self-reflection or self-introspection. Like you have to like examine yourself before you just take up somebody else's charge or anger and even their joy. Like we can rejoice with people who rejoice, we can grieve with people who grieve, but we can't make it ours.
Yeah.
So when we leave our friends, we can go back and we can enjoy our peace, our family, our other friends, or whatever event or thing that we're going to. We should not walk away feeling having joy, and you walking into a situation where everybody is like down and out, and it's like, oh, why is this chaos? And you're not recognizing, you're not paying attention to what's actually happening in the space that you're walking in. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, what is actually happening right now? And that's important. Take a step back and be like, what is actually happening right now? Because we do have, I think, the power to influence each other's emotions. So we need to recognize that. More importantly, we need to know who we are and we need to know where we stand on certain topics and issues so that if my friend gets upset, and she might rightfully be upset, I don't have to be upset.
Right.
And my friend shouldn't get angry with me for not being upset. We talked
Right.
about that too in another episode about controlling people, I think.
Mm.
Was that the topic?
Something like that.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about emotional manipulations in romantic relationships?
Oh, that's a good one. So, that's what I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we don't want to do in romantic relationships is allow our partners to manipulate us into not being able to enjoy certain things that we enjoy because they're in a bad way.
Right.
So you don't want to be getting ready to go out with your friends and your man say, and I'm saying man because Chris and I are biological females. So your partner says, "How you gonna go out and you see I had such a hard day? You know my boss, he be mistreating me and I always gotta fight with him every day." And now you like, "Oh man, I'm so bad. I'm such a bad partner. I shouldn't be going out with my friends because my partner, he's down and he's out and I should be here for him." So you call your girls and like, "Sorry, I ain't gonna be able to hang out." Okay, so now you're like, okay, well, I'll stay home. So now you on the couch watching the movie, eating popcorn, and you chilling. He go in the room, he crying and upset. You don't know what he doing, but you like, all right, well, I'm gonna stay home. You get comfy, put your head bonnet on, take your bra off. But it's not enough because now he's like, well, how you out here enjoying the movie and eating popcorn when you see that I'm upset? So it's not enough for me to change my day and my time.
Right.
But because you're upset, I have to be upset with you. I have
Mm-hmm.
to I have to neglect myself
Mm-hmm.
and cater to you and what you're feeling now. That's not healthy.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is not healthy. If you're in a relationship like that, my advice would be is to seek help if you're married. But if you're not married and you can run and get free, my advice is to get free because it only gets worse from
Mm-hmm.
there. And that's just emotional. I had a friend, it's like someone sound like she was being abused, and a lot of times um, that emotional enmeshment with partners or romantic enmeshment is abuse
Mm.
because now you're feeling bad about yourself because your partner feels like you're not catering to them enough when they're in this mood.
Right.
That can lead to physical harm, definitely continue mental, emotional, spiritual, physical manipulation and
Mm.
abuse. And it's not a healthy situation to be in.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important for you to know who you are, know
Mm.
where you stand on certain things, and to be able to have those conversations with your partners. Like, I'm sorry that you're going through what you're going through. Is there something I can do for you? Because
Yeah.
maybe in certain situations, we mentioned this before, you might want to stay and provide comfort for your partner. And
Right.
that's reasonable.
Yeah.
What is not reasonable is that it's not enough that you're changing your plans, but you have to cater to me and my needs and feel the way that I feel. And you can't be happy if
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Right.
If I can't be happy because you're sad, that is a borderline on abuse. If you expect for me to, because I'm sad and I expect for you to be sad too, and I get angry at you because you're not, now I'm manipulating you because now I'm going to make you feel bad for not feeling bad because I feel bad.
Yep.
What is that?
Manipulation.
I just want to tell y'all I use a lot of words. I be trying to cut my words back. I really do. I use a lot of words. I know you're like, woo, what she just say? She just said just a
She
lot
said
of
a lot.
words. I just wanted to paint a picture for you because I see in picture. So I see in color. So I wanted to give you an example of what it can look like so you can say like, is this happening in my relationship?
Mm.
Because sometimes we're in it and we don't even recognize how it's affecting us. Some
Yeah.
of us sometimes we're so used to being mistreated that we don't recognize that it's mistreatment, that we shouldn't be treated that way. It's just kind of like how it is, what happens.
Mm.
especially if we're afraid of being alone or losing the person we love, or sometimes you put so much work into a situation, you're like, I put all this work into this person, you know, I was about to say. And what did Angela say?
I know.
Yes. I put all this work into this person. I am not about to give up now, you know, but if it's going to affect your emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical well being, it's better to take a step back, focus on what is best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose sight of that so that you can develop that emotional intelligence, hopefully have a reasonable conversation with the person, and then determine from there, like, if it's reasonable, if it's unreasonable. If it's
Right.
unreasonable, can you deal with it? Can you
Mm-hmm.
manage it? Can you handle it? If not, bounce.
Right. It kind of reminded me when you were saying, like, you know, they don't want to leave because they figure it's kind of like when you, if whoever goes to Atlantic City plays the slot machines, they like to sit on that one same slot and warm it up. They don't like nobody touching it. Once they go get, don't touch my slot, it's gonna hit. It's gonna hit, and you gonna ride that same slot machine for the past 5 hours, and it still didn't hit. But you don't want to leave because if you feel like if you leave, the next person uses, they're gonna get $1 million. But ain't nobody get no $1 million off that slot machine.
No. They got $1 million because you constantly put money into it.
They sure did.
You keep pouring into the other thing that's drawing energy,
and all it do is taken from you. It's not giving you anything.
Yeah,
it might be like, oh, it might let you win a few cents. Like, oh, you won like $3 here. Yes. You might win $10 here. But you keep playing, you done lost all that and more.
Yeah.
But that little $3 just gave you hope enough to go for another hour and a half.
Listen, and
but
that
people too,
right there is a great example of emotional manipulation.
Right.
Constantly pulling, recognizing, oh, she getting tired, or he's getting tired, or they getting tired, and then doing one little thing to kind of
bring you flowers, like some $10 flowers. Hey, honey, I brought you these flowers. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's for me.
Yeah.
Oh, you really do love me, don't you? Oh, that was so sweet. You call all your friends, you take pictures, put on your Instagram, put on your Facebook page. Look at my man or my woman, whoever gave it to me. Yeah, he loved me. She loved me. Mm-hmm. You see them flowers?
that keep you going for the next 2-3 months.
Yep.
4 or 5 months.
Yep.
And then you're in this constant rotation. So you don't want to be in that rotation.
No.
You want to recognize that this person is pulling life and energy from you. And so you have to make some changes.
Yeah. So what can you do?
So just put it on repeat. Increase self-awareness.
Right.
Introspection. How do you feel about what is going on? Being able to differentiate between how you feel and the other person feel.
Right. Checking your own boundaries. Learning how to manage your emotions. You know, you could be doing breathing, mindfulness activities, you know, talking to a trusted friend. And finally, you know, you might need to create physical distance from this individual.
Oh, yeah.
Or this event or this activity or whatever.
Yeah.
This place.
That physical distance matters, I think, a lot of times. Like, if I can separate myself from a situation, it allows me the time to think.
Right.
But if you're so close up on it, or you're right in the middle of it, you're just feeling.
Yeah.
You're not thinking. You're just feeling and doing. So sometimes you have to leave the space, remove yourself from the person to just provide yourself an opportunity to really think. And in that, then you can come back and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, or this is how I feel. Or you're able to separate your emotions from the other person. You're able to say, I'm sorry that you're experiencing this and you're going through this.
Right.
You know, what kind of support can I give to you? Or just be there and be like, I'm sorry you're experiencing this.
Yeah.
Because it's not always about you having to give something, just acknowledging that the other person is going through something.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. And that's it too
for this episode. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. See you guys next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Let Me Tell You with
Shaq
and Chris. We will bring you another episode next Wednesday at 7 p.m. To get notifications and to listen to past episodes, please follow and like us on Instagram at lmtu.sc, on Facebook and YouTube at Let Me Tell You. And of course, if you're listening to us on Podbean, Make sure to follow us. Lastly, let me tell you to live a healthy and full life.